Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geeky Geezers, or is it just Geeky Geezers?
You know, that's like Batman or the Batman. I don't know.
I don't want to talk about the Batman tonight. We'll get to it at some point, I'm sure. Oh, look, Big Al's here, the Aquaman cartoon. Ugh. You just don't like anything new, Al. I'm
Right.
sorry. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Leia Plus Size, Brian Gilmartin, Daniel Herron. Oh, Daniel Herron's here? Oh, my goodness. Okay. We should be doing a stream this week. He got snowed in this week, unfortunately, so we didn't get around to doing a Fistful of Dollars, but we will be doing it this week. Wolf 10 Media. I think I already said Leia Plus Size, Horizon Talker, Brian Gilmartin, Auto Dread, Melissa Harris and Sons, Trooper F92525. And Nanette. Hi, Nanette. You there in the room?
Did you just read them all backwards?
Like I did. Yes, I did, because I'm weird. I want a hi, Nanette. I want to hear the hi, Nanette, but I guess I'm not going to get. Okay. Joshua V. Auditor Dread. Okay. All right. Here we are. Okay. Hi, hun. Well, she said it to Horizon Talker. Okay. Anyway.
She says it to everyone.
I know. But
Hi,
when she's hi, hello. Okay, thank you to that. Anyway,
just gave away your secret identity.
So we had a pretty good stream on.
Don't call me Clark.
That was actually, I'll say this, as for many problems as those Amazing Spider-Man movies had, there's a great scene in the one where I'm sorry, I love you, and like he webs Gwen Stacy's hand to like a pipe so she can't move out of the way, and she goes, "What, Peter?" And it's like she puts her hand over her mouth, like, "Oh no, I just yelled out his name." You know?
Yeah. Well, but see, that's just it for everybody that does, this YouTube-y stuff, and people have their professional names and then their real names. You're like Professor Geek, Michael, so forth, like that. You do find yourself back in a green room, referring to the prof as Prof or Professor Geek or whatever, and it's like, why am I doing that? And yet you get in that habit because you don't want to be on a stream and hey Jeff,
what did you do?
Breaks everything.
I'm exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Even my last name is very common sounding. It's like the German version of Smith. It's like, it's like I have a very common sounding name. But anyways, welcome everybody. You didn't ask me what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on?
I have a Arizona Mucho Mango.
If I is that just like a tea?
No, it's like mango juice cocktail.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I could have had a mango tea also. I have the Snapple mango tea in there.
Sounds kind of healthy.
Can I bust the top off? I can. They should call this Macho Mango, huh?
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
I've got a Professor Geek special here.
What is it?
Dr. Pepper Diet.
Diet Dr. Pepper. That's nice. Oh, okay. That's, what is it? 31 flavors? 31 diet flavors or something? Or
I don't know. I just know that regular Diet Dr. Pepper of all the diet sodas, I think tastes the most like a non-diet soda. So that's what I do. That's what I like.
Cool. Now
I'm also not drinking Coca-Cola anymore.
Yes, that's going to be tough for me, but I am going to make the attempt because
did you hear that? That's
I've heard many horrible things. Yes, I think. Yeah,
I mean, and although it's not on our list of notes here, if anybody hasn't seen the Daily Wire's Gina Carano interview, definitely check that out. She's calling out the hypocrisy in these companies, and it's just absolutely ridiculous, and we can't let up on this. We're going to start the night talking a little bit about Disney, but Disney is getting pummeled with, you can say what you want about Gina Carano, but you guys are all a bunch of hypocrites,
Yeah. All right. Brian Gilmartin has a comment for you. Honestly, YouTubers remind me of pro wrestlers, where they have their real name and their stage name. Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of what it is. And I don't think most of us really take it too well. Obviously, I'm not even using mine unless I actually do something over on the Klingon Cleric channel. I'm just Troy, and I'm just speaking my mind. But people like Boomer and the professor and so forth, they got their, in quote, secret identities. And then there's other YouTubers that change it, from year to year. And then there's ones like Doomcock. Who knows what his real name is? He has done a great job of keeping it,
He will take over the world one day.
Well, he will. Yeah. You don't need to know any other name other than Lord Doomcock.
Anyway, speaking of other identities, we were on Mr. Matchstick's channel this past week. You should check it out if you get a chance. We were doing it was on Friday. We were doing the a culture fortress. Where we're talking about things in the culture that haven't gotten messed up. Okay, things that we like, or things that from back in the day that at least haven't been corrupted by a lot of the rampant political correctness we're dealing with now. But we what did we I had brought up Secret of Nim on there. I think we were talking about that briefly.
I remember Secret of Nim. So that was one for me back in the 80s when cable TV was first starting. It was, you got HBO, you got the basic cable channels, and HBO was fairly new. So the movies that they had licenses for, they played over and over and over again. And during the day, you got a lot of kids programs played over and over. And then you'd get like some off movies that, if you didn't watch HBO, you probably never saw, like Clint Eastwood's, what was that film where he steals the plane? Firefox. Yeah. That one played over and over and over again. And a lot of others. But The Secret of Nim was one that I saw on HBO many, many times. And I just loved that movie. It was Don Bluth and that very Don Bluth style art. A great deal of heart. Very much, a family film, but still pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
Based on Mrs. Brisby and the Rats of Nim. I have all of those books too. Wonderful, wonderful story. And I love Dom DeLuise as the crow.
I remember that was Dom DeLuise. Yes.
That bit where he goes, "Oh, I'm not worried about a cat. If there was a cat around, I'd know, because I'm allergic to cat." And I get, it's a cat. It's a cat. It's a cat. Hey! And he turns around and he sneezes right in the cat's face.
I remember. Oh, man. I remember the creepy scene with the owl. Remember when she has to go to visit the owl?
Yeah.
And she's afraid, like, owls eat mice.
Owls eat mice.
What did he say? Only when they're hungry or something?
Right.
I don't know. Exactly. And that was a creepy scene. I mean, that entire movie, that was state of the art animation. That was up there. I have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in ages, but I remember thinking it's like up there with the first 5 Disneys. It was that good, that well done.
Yeah.
And it was a children's movie, but like most children's movies in the 80s, they had that intensity to it. Like, I mean, there's an actual like nasty, I think, duel at the end, right? As I'm recalling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And there's definitely, the villain takes and he stabs. I think he stabbed like his right hand man turns on him because he realizes it's wrong, and he just takes and stabs him, and he falls into the mud, and it's brutal. It's not quite Watership Down brutal, but it's that level of intensity.
Yeah. I really do need to pick that up. It has always been on my to get list on DVD. I've always been hesitant because I never thought like it got the treatment on DVD it deserved. So I was waiting for that super special edition to come out. But maybe I should just break down. Maybe there's a Blu-ray of it somewhere now finally, and I'll just pick that up.
Send up to you guys on Wednesdays with your soundtracks. That Jerry Goldsmith, Paul Williams Flying Dreams song. Oh, I just get goosebumps from that song.
Paul Williams. Wait a minute. Was Paul Williams in the Phantom of the Paradise?
Yes,
Yes.
he
Oh, I know who
was.
you're talking about.
He
Played
also played an orangutan in one of the live action.
Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I
Yeah.
think the last one. Yeah. Oh, he was the voice of the Penguin on Batman the Animated Series. He's a great actor.
Oh, he is.
I watched the Fantasy Island with
Did
him.
a lot of things with
Yeah.
the Muppets too.
Oh yeah. No, he's incredible. But a great musician too, though. Very impressive. I need to really revisit Secret of Nim. I'll make that onto my watch list. Maybe that should be a soundtrack to Birdman. You're right. That might not be a bad one to cover at some point because yeah, it's just a
I literally am getting goosebumps just thinking about it. You and I touch the sky, the eagle and the dove. Oh gosh, what a song. Yeah. And that's perfect example of, the two go so hand in hand, right? The music and the great visuals, the voice acting, excellent writing. I mean, and this was a family story, right?
Yeah, and Don Bluth. Saying
Don
Don
Bluth,
Bluth.
yeah.
Don Bluth used to work for Disney, I believe, before he broke off on
Yes,
his
he
own.
did.
Because of
Yes,
course,
he
at that point, the Disney studios were kind of in the doldrums. I being a kid in the '80s and trying to be a Disney fan was difficult because they just weren't. I mean, that might be a topic for another time, but like they kept having like disaster after disaster. Except for the parks, they were doing well with the parks. In
Well,
the 80s. That was about it.
Disney
Yeah.
tends to move in cycles that way. It looks like they're going through some more disasters.
We'll get to that tonight. But the sad thing about Secret of Nim, though, it was never a big box office hit, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. And
that was kind of the history of Don Bluth Studios. He had some great stuff that just never really hit until well after the fact. They become kind of these cult favorites, but that doesn't help, commercially,
It won a Saturn Award for Best Animated Film. It received a nomination for Best Fantasy Film, losing to The Dark Crystal. Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's
and
hard
I can kind of see that because those two were right up there. They were the same year, weren't they? Oh, I never even thought about that. That would be a challenge, but very similar levels of intensity. Still both, family friendly, but still with a great deal of, scary stuff, little intense for youngest viewers.
Well, it looks like they were supposed to do a remake. It was announced in 2009, but nothing came of it. Okay.
Yeah, good. Because we don't need any remakes of anything.
I don't know. I mean, I could argue it would be an adaptation of the book, but the first movie is so perfect. I don't know why you'd want to try at this point.
Exactly.
And
you see, this is the strange paradox, right? It's popular enough and classic enough that they want to remake it, but in remaking a popular classic, you necessarily cheapen it and ruin it.
Yeah, a Horizon Talker says Don Bluth made a ton of great films and Titan AE. I remember Titan AE. I saw that when it came out in the theaters because I was wanting, back then. I loved the Japanese animation, but I also wanted us over here in the States to be doing sort of more action-oriented series animation too. But nobody took.
In a lot of ways, I feel like Titan AE and maybe a lot of his stories were just a little ahead of their time. I feel like if that was coming out like in the internet age and you had the word of mouth on the socialist media, you would maybe have a much greater success because you would have people like, I don't know, what's his name? Who I'm forgetting the YouTuber with the glasses and the big beard.
That's not narrowing it down, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think glasses, big beard. I think of Harry Knowles, but I don't think he's even on YouTube. Okay, I'm trying. Glasses, big beard.
Comics Gatey type guy. Used to own a comic book shop. Moved out of California.
Ethan Van Sciver?
No,
he's got. Well, I don't know. He has facial hair. I think. To me, everybody has a beard.
Oh, I guess he's grown. I guess he's grown a beard recently. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but anyway, you were saying
Nerdrotic. That's
Nerdrotic. Oh, I know him. Okay, yeah.
Nerdrotic would be, and everybody, in the extended community there would be like, oh, this was a great movie. You got to see it. Look, people, you're all saying, you want them to stop remaking stuff and start doing something original. Well, here it is. Go support it. And you better believe people would go support it, with that kind of, a push or whatever,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's again though. I can't even talk about movies right now because the theaters are all closed. So I don't know what would be doing well and what wouldn't be doing well at this point. Because if no, anyway, that's a
Yeah, maybe that's that does change the paradigm in a lot of ways.
But maybe
it?
in some ways it makes it better, but because now there's more at points of distribution now, and people are doing everything online now. I don't know. I do miss going to the theater though, but maybe this could open up doors that weren't open before. I don't know, but I did like Secret of Nim. It was a childhood favorite of mine. In fact, you said you caught it on HBO,
huh? Yeah.
I thought I caught it on Showtime.
Maybe it was Showtime. I'm sorry.
Because HBO got half the movie, Showtime got the other half.
Right.
I found a promo for Showtime. It was funny. And they were like, this Saturday night, Sunny Chiba Marathon, and enter the Dragon and The Godfather Part 2. And then like Friday the 13th, all on and like and like someone in the comments wrote, so basically Showtime in 1982 was incredible. It's like, you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're seeing all of these violent action movies and horror movies all in one spot. Like, I don't know. But I do miss but even the kids movies in the 80s were intense. Like I'm thinking Rock and Roll, but that might be a topic for another time. Remember Rock and Roll at all?
I do remember Rock and Roll. In fact, oh my gosh, I remember Nickelodeon had a series. It might have been one of those series where they were rebroadcasting a series from Canada. I'm not sure.
It might have been.
But this was hosted by Leonard Nimoy.
Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And that's and he that was my first exposure to Rock and Roll.
Mine too. That's right. I never heard of this movie before, and Leonard Nimoy's talking about it. In fact, I think that was the first time I saw animatics. I think they showed the animatics in the special, like, oh, that's how they do it.
Yeah.
And I think that there was another like the storyboards. I think they showed that in the special. Oh, that's how they make the animated movies. I remember being a kid. I was mad at that Leonard Nimoy show because it spoils the ending of Psycho. And for those of you who haven't seen Psycho, please go watch it. And I'm not going to spoil it in this stream, but that's like been
if we're worrying about a spoiler for something that was a movie before literally everyone in the stream was born, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to ask Al what it was like to see that in the big screen for the first time. I'm kidding, of course.
I'm older than Al, and it's before mine. And Netter, well, I actually don't know if Netter's older than Al or not, but I know it's before her time.
Yeah, but anyway. Anyway, anything else to say about Secret of Nim?
No, but I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it, definitely worth the watch. Definitely.
I bet it holds up well. I'm gonna look into rewatching that now. Because it came up in conversation the other night, and we do these good old days segments, and I'm like, oh, what are we going to do this week? And I was like, oh, Secret of Nim, we were just talking about it. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But we have to live in the now. Can't live in the past, right?
True.
And what's the first?
So in my notes, I break the notes down by topic, not topic, but, I group the topics and subjects. Thank you. Yes. And this one was Disney. And I put it in, I put the word dreadful in paren before it. So it's Dreadful Disney, kind of riffing on, Neon and Geeky Sparkles, who do, Pirates and Princesses. They refer to your daily dose of Dreadful Disney, because this kind of is. And so the headline was former Disney financial analyst Sandra Kuba files lawsuit against Disney. And go ahead.
I'm just saying I have the article with me here if you ever want me to read quotes at any point.
Yeah, but I wanted to give a little background.
Sure,
had talked about this, it was almost a year ago, was it? Maybe not that long ago.
No, this was a while ago. Yeah.
When the news originally broke, she was basically a whistleblower who came out and said, Disney's doing some financial stuff that isn't cool. And, here it is. And they turned around and fired her. And, she said, and I said at the time that we reported on that, I said, well, she's got herself a good lawsuit. When she does, I'm sure we will bring that to you. And then sure enough, it comes up and I'm like, yep, we're going to talk about it. So there we go.
And that's sort of where we are now, right? Sorry, wrong pipe. I muted my mic for a minute.
Fair enough.
Disney's former senior financial analyst, Sandra Cuba, has been in the news a couple of times. 18-year-old Disney veteran. Previously, she came out and accused Disney of questionable economic practices and even filed an SEC whistleblower complaint against them in August of 2017. Of course, it was all over the news, but quickly disappeared down the memory hole of the internet. As a refresher, Ms. Cuba had noticed some unusual accounting practices when she was working at Disney, and she brought them to the attention of her superiors. She indicated that she noticed the employees in the Parks and Resorts segment systematically overstated revenue by billions of dollars by exploiting weaknesses in the company's accounting software. Cuba's whistleblower findings outline several ways employees allegedly boosted revenue, including recording fictitious revenue for complimentary golf rounds or for free guest promotions. Another alleged action Cuba described in her SEC filing involved recording revenue for $500 gift cards at their face value, even when guests paid a discounted rate of $395. Mm-hmm. This is almost reminding me of like remember Superman 3, the Richard Pryor thing?
Yeah.
About manipulating
the scheme
software.
About the portions of pennies and whatnot.
Yes.
Actually, yes. I would say a better analogy, in my opinion, is the financial shenanigans that took down Enron.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Yeah.
And that's why the concept of whistleblowers exists. They're supposed to be protected. So that's why I'm going to be very interested to see how this lawsuit goes.
Now, it almost sounds like, though, that they're trying to make the parks seem more profitable than they really are. Is that the gist of the whole thing? Is this parks related? Okay,
it's at least partially parks related. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's across the board too, because it has to do with their Disney Plus numbers. It has to do with although I'm not sure that it originally came up in her public statements. A lot of people suspected that some of the numbers for movies such as Captain Marvel and so forth might have been a little bit bolstered the same way. And it's this idea of double dipping, of showing numbers. Look at all these sales. Well, when a large portion of them are showing double sales, they're showing people like getting into the parks on free passes, that were granted for one reason or the other, or a special promotion, or something was sold to them and they got a free pass for something and they were counting that. And it's
as stuff sold.
Yeah. And it's really, really bad, voodoo mathematics, so to speak.
So this sounds like high scale fraud to me.
Very
the allegations, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's strictly legal or not, but it's clearly sending a duplicitous message. It's lying to the investors and getting people to invest with a higher confidence than is appropriate. And yeah.
And she got into trouble with Disney over this.
She got fired.
Yeah, the article says, when she reported the issue, she was ignored by supervisors. So she emailed George Kalogridis, who was then the Walt Disney Resort president, in June 2017. She included her concerns and then claims she was sent an email the next day from Disney Employee Relations that threatened her not to report her concerns about the company's practices elsewhere, or Disney would consider it retaliation against the company. And her complaint with the SEC was filed while she was on medical leave, and then she was fired when she returned to work. The lawsuit is indicating that Cuba was terminated as a result of her history of complaints and the SEC whistleblower filing. Okay.
I'll tell you something else. It used to be that you couldn't go up against a big company like this. You just don't have the resources. And Disney is hurting so bad, this is the time to hit them. And I think that timing is not missed, by this analyst. And I mean, this coupled with the Gina Carano stuff and so many other things, Disney has a PR nightmare right now. that they are dealing with that I have to say I have a great deal of Freudenstadt about. They kind of have it coming.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, I feel, well, of course you got out of the investing. So I was going to say, I feel bad for the investors, but you got out. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
When the day the news came out about the firing of Gina Carano,
Yeah, you mentioned it last.
Nanette and I sold our stocks. We just got our check, in fact. And, it's, goodbye. I there's a certain amount of I couldn't in good conscience be a part of that company anymore.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. So,
but yeah, it says that each time she tried, she suffered from harassment, hostility, and retaliation as a result, though.
yeah.
So, we're learning a lot more if you watch that Ben Shapiro, that Disney has a very nasty side to it. A nasty harassment side. I mean, to be fair, Lucasfilm, I think, is a whole nother ball game from the rest of the company, but
Disney has absolutely fostered and allowed this. And let's face it, the whole double standard. This is not just localized with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. When you look at Mulan, you look at thanking a city that is indirectly involved in modern day
yeah.
How do we say it without some sort of strike against your channel? The relocation facilities that they set up for certain groups of people that they're taken to against their will.
The not summer camps.
The not summer camp.
Summer camps, if you were thinking of the exact opposite of a summer camp.
The sleepaway camps that nobody wanted to go to.
Well, to be fair, I don't think anybody wanted to go to sleepaway camp either. I'm sorry, have you seen that movie?
I have not, no.
Okay.
Well, is that a horror film?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so that's an expression for something else. Okay.
I mean, real sleepaway camp.
Okay.
I mean, real camps. I loved when I was a kid. It was kind of cool to get a week away from home and, arts and crafts and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, horror movie. Don't know.
I don't know if you'd like it either, but I will say this: they used they had teens in the movie, and they used them from, I guess, the Long Island area, like the Northeast area.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, I recognize all the attitude. Being a Northeasterner, like all the nastiness. It's like a typical slash movie, because everybody in the movie is a jerk and screaming and being nasty to each other, and it's like, oh, it's the Sopranos type stuff again. Okay,
anyway, like we were talking about with that. You totally get, like, I know people just like that. Oh, that's so typical of so and so. Whatever.
Yeah, I'll do a quote from it. It's like, eat shit and die, Larry. Eat shit and live. And everyone's being nasty. And if one guy throws a water balloon at his sister that has not spoken since she was 5 because she saw something horrible, how it usually goes.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. And then he's threatening to, kill him. And so it's all this just, anyway. But if you're not in the slashers, I don't know if I would bother. Okay. What was I going to say?
Well, usually I am. It's just, there's so many of them. It's been so hard to keep away.
This one has a zinger of an ending that I'm not going to mention on the stream. Anyway, this one I'm not going to mention for many reasons. Anyway, Joshua V, I do want to make a point. I'm surprised you guys haven't talked about Disney shutting down a few of their companies. I don't know if Troy knows anything about this, but Joshua,
I didn't. That might be new to me.
Yeah, if you could, just mention it in the chat, and I'll see about looking into that maybe for the next stream next week. If you think of something pertinent, go ahead. In fact, I'm thinking, I don't know how many of you are even on MeWe, but I'm thinking about maybe setting up a MeWe group for this
absolutely
this whole channel. Yeah. So if you ever see a news story that's worth paying attention to, that's cool.
You can then drop it in the MeWe group, and absolutely, I think that would be brilliant.
Melissa, stop talking. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, you're right. She is his cousin. But don't say anything else about the movie. Anyway.
Yeah, don't spoil a 30-year-old movie, for crying out loud.
No, plus the ending in this one could get me into trouble with Susan on YouTube. Anyway. Okay, so let's move on to the next story. We will come back to Disney, though, because the fun never ends at the happiest place on earth. I'm sorry, am I being mean?
No, I don't even think you're kind of sugarcoating it almost. It's pretty darn bad.
I'll put it to this way. Much on this stream, my target has been I don't want to say I target anybody, but I'm kidding. Warner Brothers has gotten my ire as of late, but I'll even point out when Warner Brothers does good things. And Disney, I would say I was impressed with because they were still producing things during the shutdown, lockdown. Okay.
Yeah,
They got a whole nother season of that Mandalorian made. That was impressive that they were able to do that just from a financial production
I looked
standpoint.
into that though. You mentioned that last week, and I looked
Yeah.
into it, and the timing was they'd actually pretty much wrapped up before the coup shut them down.
Okay, so maybe
all of those episodes they were releasing because they already had them in the can.
I thought they were shooting during. Okay,
Nope.
never mind. Okay, well, then I take it back. Okay, but next up is DC Comics buyout in the works from fans with lots of money.
Yeah,
and this one kind of threw me for a loop. And I know that this was on other sites and other streams and stuff. People talk about this. I had to kind of go through this article. Do you want to give a rundown of it, or I could read quotes?
You go ahead. You go ahead and give the rundown. I don't want to give my take on it before everyone's got the backstory on it.
Now, this is from Bleeding Cool, so apologize for people who may not. We get the news where we get it anyway.
Right.
Bleeding Cool has heard repeated reports that DC Comics is planning to reduce serialized print publication, increase digital production, and license comic book publication to other publishers. Well, we've sort of talked about this on past shows. Okay. We heard that Marvel, IDW, and Dynamite have all approached DC, but the prices cited were too high. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Can you imagine Marvel buying out DC? That would be actually that would be out of the frying pan into the fire, maybe. But anyway,
maybe. But I also think that because of some of the things we were saying about Disney at this point, I think that's off the table. The acquisitions are not even on the table for Disney at this point.
They destroyed 20th Century Fox. Anyway, I don't want to harp on that. I'm so mad about that. That to me is the biggest crime that they've done recently.
I would say in the past decade they have destroyed everything they've touched. They've destroyed Lucasfilms. They've destroyed 20th Century Fox. What else have they acquired? They destroyed Disney itself. I mean,
yeah, I'm thinking. You know, I was thinking years ago. I was thinking Disney doesn't feel like Disney anymore.
Nope.
Disney had a feel to it, and it was even at the earlier part of this decade. They were still making original stuff. Now, maybe John Carter, maybe people don't like John Carter of Mars, but I actually gave them points for taking a risk on a movie. Okay, and they also had their traditional stuff, and I actually felt bad for them earlier on, like when they did Princess and the Frog. They were trying to bring 2D animation back, and it lost to the Chipmunk sequel, or Squeak.
I know we kind of touched on this before with John Carter of Mars, but I don't think I ever fully got my thought out about it. On the one hand, I do feel like we as fans kind of let that one slip by us, because that was a place where we should have been like, look, we've been calling for these companies to not do remakes, to work on something new. This is a chance to send a message by supporting exactly what we're saying we want. On the other hand, I feel like Disney did a terrible job of marketing it. Seriously, I mean,
well, they left out the Mars part.
There's a lot of I could go into a lot of ways the marketing failed, but the marketing failed big time on that one. So there's enough blame to go around.
Yeah. But to continue though with this is interesting. Last year, a number of high-rolling individuals were given tours of DC Comics Burbank with AT&T Warner's officials. As a result, there may be some new options because Bleeding Cool has been made aware of plans by big-time DC Comics fans with access to a lot of money, many millions from across many businesses. Okay, and a collaboration of some of the biggest cheeses who, with a combination of personal wealth and raised capital, are making an approach to AT&T not to buy DC Comics outright from AT&T Warners, not to touch the movies, the TV, the games, or the merchandise, but solely the rights to and ownership of the comic book side of the publisher. To be able to create and publish the DC Comics line as they would like, let Warners do the movies and TV shows, but take all the cumbersome work of actually publishing comic books off their hands, while Warners are free to adapt as they wish. Interesting. Okay.
Right. So we've talked about this in the past when it was IDW or whatever, and we were basically saying that it's looking more and more like, for both Disney and Marvel, they have so imploded their own publishing wings. They're gonna die. However, because the value of these characters is no longer in the comics, they are in them as properties for use in cartoons and movies and television shows and streaming services and so forth. They need to keep them alive. That's why, when Geeks and Gamers and Ethan and all the others are talking about, and ridiculing Marvel Comics for putting out Captain Marvel, the sales suck, so they cancel it, and then they bring it right back, and they keep rebooting. It's not like they're looking to get better sales. It's not like it's a marketing stunt. It is literally just they need to keep that character in print in order to hold on to the rights to the name. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's like filing a copyright. You just publish a couple comic books, see if they sell.
Exactly.
They don't. Oh well, it's canceled again.
And it is actually a little bit more complicated than copyright, because we're talking about trademarks. But yes, the concept, the overarching concepts of intellectual property apply here, and licensing and so forth. So many people in the industry are saying the future is going to be, they're just going to start licensing these things out to IDW or some other independents.
I've heard that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just assumed that's what's eventually going to happen. And now it's looking like there's not only a move in that regard, but there are actual DC fans. And the article doesn't name these people, right?
I'm sorry, I got distracted there for a second.
The article doesn't name who these potential buyers
are.
Right?
Yeah, and someone in the chat, I apologize if I forgot your name. You had mentioned Ethan Van Sciver thought the man behind The Walking Dead. What was his name? I hate it when this happens on the streams. Hold on.
But the comic writer?
Yeah, the comic writer, the creator of The Walking Dead.
I forget his name, yeah.
Hold on, I'll find the comment. But it could be other successful comic book creators could be the ones wanting to buy.
Because you don't mean the director producer Nicotero, right? You mean the comic book guy that wrote the comic book for The Walking Dead.
Why am I blanking on his name right now? I just had it a minute ago. All right, I'm probably about 100 people have told me his name right now. Okay. Anyways. But anyway, they're mentioning that maybe it could be other. I mean, Kevin Smith could want to buy it. I mean, I don't know how much.
Robert Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman. Why? Okay.
There you go.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, sure. It could be Robert Kirkman. It could be Silent Bob. It could be, any number of people. But again, that does kind of fall under, isn't that what we've been saying needs to happen? If we had the money, we'd do it, right? And yes, I did want to reiterate what you did read from the article. This is, again, not someone actually buying DC Comics from Warner Brothers. This is people buying the licensing rights to make their own comics take over the publishing of DC Comics stories.
Okay.
And in a way, I don't know. I haven't heard anyone else say this, any other YouTuber or commenter. So it may be first here. And I hope putting it out into the universe doesn't ruin anything. But I kind of see this as a Comicsgate move for the big time, right? Taking the DC Comics and Comicsgating it.
So let's think for a minute here. Let's say Robert Kirkman or some other one, maybe even a comics writer, buys out DC Comics too, and they write a Superman story and they introduce a brand new villain that's really popular and a great story and new characters. Mm-hmm. Does Warner Brothers then have to pay them like extra money to get use of those characters that they create for the comics line? I mean, they can pull from whatever came before. Can they pull from anything created in the future?
Now, that is not an answer that I could
I know,
say.
That's what I'm curious. I'm just speaking out loud.
It would entirely be dependent on what licensing agreement they came up with. I'd like to hope that if they're paying that kind of money, then I would say there's got to be a writer that says, if I introduce a really, really good character, we own them, and I think that a lot of comic book writers are, especially anyone wealthy enough to be making this move is wise enough to go, this is the way it's got to be, or we're not doing this.
You could do so much with new villains nowadays. I mean, villains tend to reflect the times, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
look at the change in Lex Luthor, and it was a successful change that John Byrne introduced in the 80s. This idea that this trope of the generic genius mad scientist, it's run its course. Who would make a good villain? Well, he's still a genius mad scientist, but he's also a genius businessman. And that really evolved into the Lex Luthor of Smallville with the whole Alexander, Napoleon sort of concept behind him.
Yeah. And even going back to Superman, the animated series in Justice League, I remember there was a great episode of Justice League where Professor Ivo, who he got angry because Mercy fired him from LexCorp. And she's like, "Why'd you fire me? He was one of our best scientists." And he died. Okay. And he finds Professor Ivo's papers and is able to rebuild this thing he was working on, because Lex Luthor is that smart that he can read what this genius was working on. Okay.
Sure.
And I thought that was interesting. So even though he may not be as much of a practitioner, at least not on the anime series, he probably hasn't been in other things, but he's still very smart himself. I mean, he's a genius. And I would argue, I've argued that especially this was pointed out in the Superman Doomsday animated movie, that if Lex Luthor wanted to be, he could be as great a force for good or even more than Superman. He just chooses not to be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's what makes him interesting.
I'll tell you too. There have been some great actors who have portrayed Lex Luthor. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying he's the best actor to portray him, but I think the best portrayal of Lex Luthor was Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, my favorite Lex Luthor. What I liked about Michael Rosenbaum is that you see him turn evil slowly.
Yep.
It happens season after season. Whatever flaw, I mean, I can pick on the flaws, but for all the flaws it did a lot right, and they did Lex Luthor so well. You see him gradually turn worse each season, like the little thing that nudges him toward the dark side. It doesn't happen all at once.
I especially love the fact that you could make the argument that it's understandable why he becomes that, but at no point do you have any sympathy for it. It's not like, well, I understand why he became evil. That poor guy, he was so, beaten on by his father and, driven by this, and he was betrayed, by Clark and this and that. No. Yeah, some of that stuff applies and is absolutely true, but he made it his own and he made choices, and there is no excuse for those choices in the moments.
No.
And he there's even a scene where he sees a future coming, mm-hmm. and it bothers him. And you see at some point in time, he's got that in the back of his mind. He goes, "No, I see why I went that way. I choose that."
Huh?
Yeah. Well, it's some good writing there.
There was one of my favorite episodes of Smallville was the episode with the psychic, right? She could see the future, right?
That's the one I'm referring to.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know. He doesn't see that vision.
Doesn't he?
No, I don't think he did, because no.
Maybe it was Clark then that sees.
No, it was the woman that saw it. The psychic that saw it.
And she dies after.
Yes, she dies right after. Yeah, it's a brilliant scene because she grabs. I've seen you before, Clark Kent. I see you in people's futures. They're in despair. Things they have no hope, and then you're there, and everything's better. And she says, "I've seen the impact you make." And then Lex Luthor goes to see her. It's the end of the episode. Says, "Okay, I'll sell your future." And you see Lex Luthor. He's out of the White House. Yep. He has one hand covered in black. He goes to like a flower. Flower crumples up and dies, and then the sky starts raining red blood. And then
on his white suit.
And he's like, "What did you see? And what did you see? What did you see?" And then she's dead.
Okay. Had a heart attack. Yeah.
There was another episode though where I guess he got like it was like almost a reverse It's a Wonderful Life, where like if he decided not to stay with his dad and went off on his own, and I guess he marries Lana, And, Clark Kent is still Superman. They did that possible future, but then things go wrong. Like he can't save Lana because he can't afford her medical treatment.
Yeah.
And he uses that as the excuse not to be, an honest person or whatever. And I don't know. And that was not as good an episode.
There was some really, really good writing in that show.
There was.
And bringing it back to what we were talking about, I foresee that potential. I mean, this could also go south too. It could just be a bunch of people that, are every bit as bad as the people, but the devil and the devil you don't know, right? But this definitely has the potential, if it's truly fans and they are truly talented writers, we could see a wonderful future for the DC stories.
You can see a renaissance with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all of them.
And it would be an opportunity for Warner Brothers to then go, okay, time to retool our whole movie verse. These guys have done some great stuff. Let's draw from that. And, you could have a real renaissance there.
I hope it happens. We'll see. Right now, I guess this is sort of rumors, but on good authority that there have at least been these visits, right? Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a good idea. I think it could maybe.
I would say the most immediate benefit is hopefully it will nix this whole future state thing, which is just a hot mess. I gotta say. Nothing that I can point to major, where it's as bad as New 52 or anything like that. But it's they have already started on a progression for the mainline DC stories with Jonathan Kent and all of the, successive generations that you could move it down. But they've decided they want to do future state with all new characters, and it's very hit and miss from everything I've seen.
Yeah, all new characters. Does that bring us to our next subject? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Wonder Girl.
Yeah.
Now, she was one of these new characters, correct?
So this is exactly what I was talking about. The Wonder Girl that they've introduced in, and don't get me wrong, this actually I would when I originally saw this, okay, I honestly thought this was just the whole racial swap thing, and they were replacing Donna Troy and all this. And when I saw this was actually for future state, and then I saw what the backstory was for this character, this Amazon, they've done this before. There's branches off of the Amazons, right? You have the Amazons in Greece, right? Mm-hmm. Themyscira. You have the sister community in Africa, the Nubians. I think there was another like Mesopotamian or Iberian Peninsula like branch that kind of had some conflicts with the Amazons. Well, this is yet another branch of Amazons that are from the Amazon. I mean, in South America.
Yeah, the little Amazon, right.
And so whereas the Amazons in Themyscira are drawing on Greek mythology, these Amazons are drawing on Central American mythology.
So like Mesoamerican.
Central and South American.
Okay, right.
And it's just like with Thor and the Norse and Wonder Woman with the Greeks, it's a very fictionalized, stylized version of those mythologies, but it's still an introduction to these mythologies. And I know very little about this mythology. So anything that I've seen from it is new to me. And, I think that John Solo needs to jump on this and start talking about some of that because, he could get some great content out of that. But very interesting characters, what I'm saying. Not a bad, I'd say of all the stuff Future State has done, it's probably one of the better ones. But CW had been planning to start a live action series based on this character. And I'm sorry, CW TV right there is a non-starter for me. F-U CW.
Oh man, yeah, the Wonder Girl TV show at the CW is officially not going forward. Yeah,
and I say amen to that because anything that I just said that was positive about this character, they would have just crapped all over.
It'll end up it'll end up being preachy.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably, but no, I mean the concept sounds interesting to me. I mean, there's no
And what I've
reason.
seen of the story development of this character in the comics was really good too. I mean, she has not been this, born perfect yesterday type of character. She's flawed. She's got, character development that has to happen.
Maybe Wonder Woman could be serving as a mentor to her. That might be an interesting idea too. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
because there's this big gap
Okay.
between the current day characters and these future state characters. We don't know what happens in there, so there's definitely that potential that could be really, really cool, but who knows?
See, one of the things I loved about Young Justice is that Young Justice is kind of like the next generation of superheroes. That cartoon series,
Yeah,
you had like Aqualad and Robin and Ms. Martian, I think her name was, and Superboy, and you
Yeah.
had all these. These are like, and you still have the superheroes we know in the background. Okay, Batman is still doing what he does. Superman's still doing what he does too. But it's more like a series taken from the point of view of these younger characters. Okay, and
Yeah.
they basically we're tired of being the sidekick and do it. We want to be part. Okay, we'll make you a kind of a covert ops thing. Okay, you'll go to the places we can't normally go to. Okay, and that's what they set it up as.
If you remember, I mean, this is not a new concept either. This idea that the next generation was appealing to a younger audience. The Teen Titans, were a thing going back to the 60s, and back in the late 70s, early 80s, they got their own title. And it was kind of envisioned as DC's version of like the X-Men, something for teenagers to directly relate to, whatever their situation was, just by virtue of the fact that you're young adults. You're not old enough to be taken seriously as adults, but you are old enough that you're not really a kid anymore, and kind of dealing with that from a superhero standpoint. That, if you want to continue on with that, you take Nightwing, and he ends up becoming a full-fledged superhero in his own right, and maybe takes on a Flamebird or something like that, or whatever, and you see the progression of the generations. That's good storytelling. That's that's a good way to do it, instead of just, I don't know.
Oh, Leia Plus has a comment. Just let Wonder Woman be her own woman in character, and just created someone else, not with the same storyline. Well, that's sort of what I thought they were trying to do with this character, though. I mean,
it definitely does, but tied to her lore, just like any spin-off character from Superman, whether it's Supergirl, Steel, whatever, even Superboy. There is value in a connection to a previous hero, but then let them develop on their own. Maybe with the original hero as a mentor, but then maybe becoming your second generation character. So there is progression within the universe. There's really nothing wrong with that. It certainly can be done. And you're setting yourself up for, maybe 30, 40 years down the line, retiring all these characters to an Earth 1 kind of thing and starting in Earth 2, like back in the old Flash of Two Worlds thing,
right. But I mean, at some point, I guess that's the problem, though, because people know Superman, they know Batman, and I've always felt that Marvel does better creating and marketing new characters than DC did. But I think Warner Brothers could be partly to blame for that, because they never try doing. I mean, they finally made an Aquaman movie and it was a big hit, but
they kind of walk a tightrope.
Mm-hmm.
That they really don't need to, and they probably shouldn't. This whole idea of, on the one hand, we want our characters to never age and always stay current, and on the other hand, we want them to progress and have future generations and so forth. And really, the only way to do that is with the multiverse concept that they set up, that every generation, Superman is current, but you're going to have to set him then in another universe, and your classic characters need to shift to, and they kind of did that recently in the, someone help me out, the not Doomsday Clock or what the wrap up of that whole Doomsday Clock thing or whatever, where it comes out that there is a multiverse out there and Superman always has to be part of it, and he does exist in every generation. And it was very much a nod to that concept that Superman was one of the original, heroes in the Justice Society, on Earth 2, and then he was the Silver Age, character in the 70s, and he was the John Byrne Bronze era in the 80s, and now he's this new character, in the 90s going into the aughts, and there will always be, and by extension, the same is true of Batman and Wonder Woman and all the other characters, so there's nothing wrong with doing that and having that as a premise. And if you want to continue telling stories in your Bronze era where, Clark marries Lois and they end up adopting a child together who's, got Kryptonian powers or have their own child or whatever the case is, continue that story. You absolutely can do that because, heaven forbid you have multiple titles and make money and people want to buy those comics,
Yeah, well, I'm assuming I figure at some point the chickens have to come home to roost, but we'll see.
Yeah,
or basically the
because then
the bank account becomes empty. Maybe that's the better.
Well, and going back to our previous story, maybe the answer is letting fans take over and do it right, for you under license. Because as long as you keep doing it yourself, we end up with our next story.
Okay. This is the Aquaman King of Atlantis first look image reveals cartoon Arthur Mirror, correct?
Yep.
Now, Wolf 10, hashtag not my Aquaman. Can you keep an open mind and stop being so negative all the time? I'm going to do a share screen. We're all going to take a look at this.
Do a share screen and see if people don't automatically agree with Wolf 10 Media on this one.
Yeah, I am going to do a thing, okay? So here we go. We're going to do share screen. Don't show the tips again. Yeah, just the whole thing. View the entire screen. Do I have a safe backdrop? I'll find. Okay.
Do we have a? Are we having a boomer moment?
We're not having. I did this the other night. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So let me bring up. Is this the PDF? Nope. That's the keynote. I don't want the keynote.
There we go.
I know, but I'm going to bring it up. I want to bring up the PDF because PDFs are simpler. Okay. View. Full screen. Can everybody see this? Can you see it, Troy?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right. This is the.
I was going to say that looks good, but only insofar as you were actually able to get it on the screen.
Maybe it's a style. I'm not here to judge that style.
It's a style.
Okay?
It is a style.
HBO Max has revealed the first look of their upcoming animated miniseries, Aquaman, King of Atlantis. The animated HBO Max miniseries is said to be 3 episodes long. James Wan, director of the live-action film, is on board as executive producer of the miniseries. I wonder if he's seen anything about this series because he seemed to be a professional. Anyway, the story will follow Arthur Curry as he adapts to being the new King of Atlantis, a mantle he took on the end of the live-action film. Mira, played by Amber Third in the movie, will also appear in the miniseries along with Volko, who William Dafoe played. HBO Max has now released the first look at the show. The picture shows Arthur and Mira getting ready for action in what looks to be Atlantis. HBO hopes that
Aquaman. It looks like they're getting ready for action, like on the toilet.
Okay. HBO hopes that Aquaman King of Atlantis will be the first step in fleshing out their slate of animated content aimed at children on the streamer. Aimed at children on the streamer. That sounds inappropriate. But anyway, along with the photo, HBO revealed some story details about the series. The show will follow Arthur as he adjusts to his newfound position and deals with various threats, both under the sea and from the surface. Check out the picture below. Well, here we do. We have the picture here. It's a style. I noticed that Mira has a unibrow. Do you like the unibrow?
Yeah, and Arthur almost does too. So I have to assume he's doing some manscaping.
Okay. Yes. But they're stretching pretty good there. Huh?
It's yeah, that's
that.
So
wait, I wanted to show other pictures of previous Aquaman. Hold on, what does this do this to me? Okay, so look at this. This is from Superman the Animated Series.
Sure.
Okay, that's the original Aquaman. That's Lois Lane. That's not Mira, but that was from the episode where Aquaman guest starred. I do like that design. That's from Justice League. That's and they changed him up a little bit. I think he was based more on the comics at that time. That's Mira from the Justice League animated series. That's from Batman: The Brave and the Bold. We have and that's more of a comedy series, but somehow I like the designs much better than what we just saw. Okay, here we go. That's from Young Justice, Aquaman, and Mira. And that is from an animated movie, A Justice League Throne of Atlantis. And here we're back. So what do we notice is the big difference between...
Well, I would, and giving credit where credit is due, Neon and Geeky Sparkles dubbed it Aquaman Glub in reference to Teen Titans Go and Thundercats Roar. It's basically the same crappy animation style.
They always call it Cal Arts, but then I've other people, it's not Cal Arts, so I don't know. But whatever the style is, it keeps popping up.
Yeah.
And Auditor Dread has a comment. Mira almost looks as crazy as ever heard. I'm sorry. Melissa Harris, hashtag not my Aquaman. Okay, Arthur Curry should always have a beard. Change mind. I thought that first Aquaman design for Superman the Anime series wasn't a bad design. I'm fine.
I would say I agree with you to an extent. It's the kind of thing where having the beard and not having the beard is a demonstration of some character development. I think he should start without the beard, and then there's a reason that he ultimately grows the beard. Unfortunately,
like maybe after he becomes king, yeah.
Well, and goes through a personal tragedy.
Right.
That's how it originally happened in the comics.
Oh, okay.
He was the clean cut, young guy, that then, he has a wife and child. He loses them under some very traumatic circumstances. In fact, in the comics, he ends up losing his hand. And he ends up with a hook for a while, and he comes back. It's a little bit of a darker story, and he comes back with long hair and a full beard and this hook, and it's a kind of gritty story, And then I would argue, okay, fine. Then you have future development where he cuts the hair, trims the beard, still has the beard, showing him getting himself in, more control. But then it does definitely lead to that look of an underwater King Arthur, right?
Yeah, and that's basically who he's kind of based on,
exactly.
In a lot of respects. And I don't understand why Warner Brothers is not taking this seriously. Even the look of Justice League Throne Atlantis, not my favorite look in those DC, but that still looks 10 times better than what we're seeing on this thing. And this is like, in a way, you're one of your big characters right now. Whether or not you like the Justice League movie, it was big box office. It was popular around the world. You're going to be doing an limited animated series. You should wanting to make something that looks professional, kind of like how the old Batman and Superman animated series used to look. And we're getting another one of these Thundercats War type situations. And
I was going to say,
this
is your basic, corporate suit mentality that just don't understand. They go, oh, well, we want to market to kids as well, so let's make a kiddie type cartoon series. Okay, let's do this. Kids like this goofy stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you're trashing your brand by doing that.
Not only that, though, but let's be honest here. Though Batman, the animated series, and they were aimed at kids. Okay, kids could watch these shows. Okay,
right.
That was the target audience. You could still have something be good and still aimed at kids. Okay, heck, even Batman: The Brave and the Bold, which was a straight up comedy, is treating the character with more respect than this. I mean, the thing of it is, all the characters are kind of silly in that show, all except for Batman. He's like the only one that's like, but like the whole thing with Aquaman is he's very boastful. He likes to boast about his great deeds, and he's always talking about that. But he's still a hero, but that's like maybe his flaw or eccentricity. Okay. He's always boasting. Okay.
And I always felt that this idea that you got to make it goofy and stupid for kids to be able to enjoy it was incredibly short-sighted. I always think about what Fred Rogers used to say about talking to kids. He would never talk down to a child. You talk to a child the way you would talk to an adult.
Yep.
Now, you might have to explain a little bit more, but you sometimes have to do that with adults too, that don't understand something, and you have to, think through how you need to explain it to them so that they understand, but you never talk down to them. And I feel like that's what poor storytellers do. They talk down to kids when they make these things for kids, and they go for the potty humor, and they go for the stupidity, and that's fine if you want to do that with some new thing, and Captain Underpants or whatever. That's great, fine, do it. You don't do that with standing established characters, because you're cheapening and hurting the line. You're not doing anything to endear yourself to your currently existing fans, and it's hurting as it is. You don't need to hurt it more. But again, it's stupid corporate suit mentality who doesn't think through development of the line. They just think marketing.
Yeah, and Brian Goodmart makes a point. This is what I talked about earlier with kids shows throwing out intensity in favor of the denser and wackier style that does nothing for kids. Yeah, like think about what we were talking about earlier with Secret of NIMH. That had an intensity to it, right?
Oh yeah.
But I don't think the show might be intense and that you want to vomit after watching it. But oh
gosh.
But Samuel Proctor says the days of people mocking Aquaman has passed, at least. Yeah, but what is this show then, though? That's my thing. Is this going to be a mocking of the character, though? That's what I wonder. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It's who am I kidding? I'm not going to like this series. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I also see this focus on Mira. I'm sorry, but it's a misunderstanding of Mira's role in Aquaman's life. Yeah. If you don't know the lore of Aquaman, they're just totally mishandling Mira in every single way. Everything about what they do with Mira is a misunderstanding of the character.
Do you think they're going to have her show up Aquaman on the show? That's the next shoe to drop, right? Like she'll put him in his place, maybe.
Probably,
I don't know.
Because that's how these shows go. The girls make the boys look stupid, and the boys are dumb and impulsive, and
I don't know. I've heard that the cartoon producing, the American cartoon producing, is very. I don't know. It's very scandalous. That Short Fat Otaku did a video on it, I think, a while back. I should send it to you, but. Basically, there's a lot of nepotism plus sleeping around, plus maybe nepotism due to sleeping around, and that it's all like a clique you have to belong to.
Look at me, I'm shocked. See my shocked face?
But I don't know. I don't know, but and it's only gonna be 3 episodes long, and I wonder how much they're gonna cost. Probably a couple million each, right?
Well, and that's
someone's lining up their bank account.
That's the ridiculous thing about these things. It's like they're not worth the money they put into it. It's ridiculous. But I'll tell you, I do think that things have to change. And I'd say all the Gina Carano stuff and whatnot. That interview, boy, if you haven't seen that interview, people go check it out, because she says some pretty earth-shaking stuff. She says what I've been saying all along, and people have just been ignoring and poo-pooing. Everyone says, okay, just everybody in Hollywood is just a bunch of left-wing wackos. And she's saying, no, there are way more conservative people in Hollywood than but they are all scared to speak up, and they keep their heads down and they shut up because they don't want to lose their careers. And I've been saying this for so long, and she's like, you if you are in a situation where you can walk away from it, then you can stand on your convictions. If you're not, you need to keep your job. You can't change anything if you lose your job. And this is what I was saying about Star Wars for the longest time. Unfortunately, somebody dropped a nuke and it doesn't even matter anymore. So I'm just waiting for some other big stuff to happen, but
Oh,
we'll save that for another stream.
Sarah Parker says the interview was a PR nightmare for Disney, and I love it. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. I don't. Someone earlier was saying that they think this could be the start of MovieGate. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's going to be this whole, you can come after all you want, but all you're doing is proving to everybody who sees you what a hypocrite you are. That's really what you're doing, because it's already started. If you saw those comments on the Oscars video with Kathleen Kennedy, where people say you got a lot of nerve talking about, women and strong women. You just fired one, you hypocrite. And
you can speak your mind as long as it's what we tell you to speak.
Exactly. Your idea of a strong woman is regurgitating what you tell them to, which is exactly the opposite of what a strong woman is. You're a hypocrite. It's just ridiculous. And every time Disney tries to do anything now, these things just keep coming back and coming back. And they can't blame it on bots anymore. They just can't. There are too many voices speaking. And they can turn off the comments, but the internet is forever,
Yeah.
But
the
in fact, I missed my opportunity. What I should have done, well, I guess that wouldn't have done anything. It would not have recorded. If you download a video off of YouTube, it only saves the video. It doesn't save the comments. So what I would have to do is do like a live screen capture, video capture of me scrolling through the comments if I wanted to save them. That's what I would have had to have done.
I mean, they'll show up if you click on them, like I am when I with Leia plus size comment. But yeah, you're not gonna. It's not gonna. Yeah, I don't know. You'll see them. Yeah, you'll see them while streaming on YouTube. I don't know if they keep up. Of course, I don't know what StreamYard can do, because like we're doing this through StreamYard. I don't know if StreamYard, or maybe the comments are strictly YouTube. I didn't think about that. I don't know.
Well, no, what you'd have to do is you'd have to use a software like
Gotcha.
OBS Studios, which I don't know if that's what Green Lion Girl uses when she does her game streams, but it's what I do to capture video for, when I'm doing a Star Trek Online playthrough, and I capture that video and then edit it into something. You could do the same thing. You could just do a screen capture, video capture of you just scrolling through the comments on a YouTube screen.
Huh. Okay. Well, as you figure that out, let me know. I don't know if I'll be able to use that.
That's basically, I'm assuming that's basically what the guys from Midnight's Edge did when they made their video about it. It was hysterical. I had to watch it in like slow-mo in order to read them, but I was reading them and I was laughing so hard at some of those comments. It was just gold.
Oh, wow. Oh, look, Horizon says Midnight's Edge did a comment capture of that video. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I was just mentioning.
Oh, that. Yeah. I did see that one on the. Oh, man.
It was just brilliant. And they didn't even get all of them. They just got some of the highlights.
One guy said, "I'm getting tired of having to like every comment."
That's what they ended it with. Please stop making negative comments about Kathleen Kennedy. Space. I'm getting tired of liking them all.
But anyway,
that's and so I mentioned that about Disney, but I think the same is happening to all of Hollywood, and this is just a microcosm of it when we're talking about things like this goofy, anything having to do with Mara right now.
Mira,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, and I don't know. Plus, I said that reminded me of a point that someone was making an argument that they don't make cartoons for kids anymore. They're all for these weird
man babies,
clicky adults, or people I wouldn't care to hang out with anyway. But
adults is what I think they're really for.
All right. But speaking of cartoons, or should I say anime?
Well, I would argue we're kind of now moving into what a segment that we normally don't even have on this stream, and that's gaming.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, this is sort of I think this first one is more anime.
Well, I was just going to say the first three of them, or maybe more. The first three for sure we could have almost put under the streaming thing because they all relate to Netflix.
That's correct. Yes,
but it's also gaming related, and it fit with all these other ones, and we didn't have any other streaming stories, so I figured just let's call it a gaming segment.
All right, but Netflix offering full Tokyo. Well, this is strictly for anime, though, right here.
Yeah.
It ties into the next article that Netflix is doing.
Sure.
Netflix offering full Tokyo anime school scholarships with living expense support, open to foreigners. Okay. Well,
yeah, this actually I found a little bit surprising. Again, as somebody who doesn't know too much about the anime industry or anything, but when you hear that, it's like open to foreigners. Really? Okay, Tokyo, you got my attention.
This is I may have a different take on this article than you, but it might be good if we could have a spirited debate. Okay, pretty much as soon as it arrived in Japan, Netflix made anime a major pillar of its content mix. No doubt emboldened by the success of anime found on streaming platforms outside of Japan, Netflix has continued to expand its presence within Japan anime industry, most recently with the Thick Thigh Godzilla. And now it doesn't want to just be involved in creating animation, but animators too. WIT Studio, best known for its work on the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, has announced the formation of WIT Animator Academy, hosted by Sasayuri Video Training Institute, also called Sasayuri Cafe, in Tokyo's Nishio Kubo neighborhood. Hope I pronounced that right. The program will be a 6-month course with classes held 5 days a week, and following completion, students will be retained as subcontracted animators for a Netflix original anime to be produced by WIT or its sister studio Production IG. Mm-hmm. And apparently Netflix is footing the bill. Will pay for it's a scholarship, and they're even pledging to help students out with their living expenses during the program.
Now, the first thing I would say is, as soon as you hear something like that, the question that you should be asking is why. You always follow the money. Why would they be funding these scholarships?
Why are they offering? Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm reminding of a line from Superman the Animated Series where Darkseid's minions are giving Bruno Mannheim all this weaponry, and he says it's free, and he says it's my experience that free becomes very expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, are they then going to be contracted to Netflix to slave away for a few years, if you'll pardon that expression? Okay. On drawing boards and whatnot.
Well, you know, I would say, based on pure speculation and a healthy dose of cynicism, I would say, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, again, you don't invest money unless you're expecting to get something out of it. You know, you can't tell me that a big company, you know, is investing in scholarships just out of the goodness of their heart. I'd love to believe that, but if you dig, you find it to be almost never true. But when you look at the relationship between Netflix and the anime studios, and I don't know, I think there's a lot of things about the industry I don't know that someone would have to tell me, but my gut instinct is to speculate that there must be some need for people in that industry. Otherwise, they wouldn't be reaching out beyond, you know, Japan.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're looking for, it almost sounds to me like Netflix is implying one of the major areas of entertainment in the future we believe is going to be anime. We're investing in anime now.
Okay. Here's one of my issues, though. I assume that, do they go over to Japan and work for this place? Do they then come back here? Are they going to be the writers of these projects, the directors of these projects, Americans writing and producing?
Or will there be a Netflix
place,
Tokyo, you know, partnership of some kind?
I don't
either
know.
Either seems plausible. But think about it. You go to Japan. Let's take it out of this area of business. I like to generalize when I talk about business because I think it always applies. If you want to work at Benihana, you are going to go to Japan to learn the art, because it really isn't, being a chef is an art, and that particular style is an art. And then you come back to the United States, you work as a chef there, you do better and better. You move up at Benihana, or you go on to another restaurant, you have, some credentials to draw on. You can say, yeah, I was trained by so-and-so, in Tokyo. That says something, right? You want to be a chef in the United States, you might go to Europe and study in France, or whatever. I don't know. So you've got those credentials, and then you come back and you get jobs at different places with some notoriety. You build up your CV, and then maybe you start your own restaurant.
Okay.
Could be that's the only reason to get an education, right? Because you want to do something with it, you want to pad up your resume.
Right.
And I don't see this as being anything different. And if a company is going to invest in you that way by creating a scholarship, yeah, they're kind of expecting that at the bare minimum, you are helping the industry, but more directly, they probably want something from you personally.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think that's duplicitous. That's just business.
Okay. Now, do we think that this will be good for anime?
I don't see how it could be bad.
I can. Okay.
Okay.
And maybe this is just me. Okay. I might go on a rant here. Okay.
No, I can't speak to it until you share it.
Here's the deal. What I like about anime is that it's Japanese. Okay. It's usually done. It's usually. I've only ever heard of one example of a Japanese animation that had an American involved that I thought was truly an anime, and that was the movie Tekken Concrete, because the director over there, actually, he worked his way up in the anime industry, even though he was an American, and he did direct it, but it was also based off a Japanese manga. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was still a movie that was targeted primarily first Japanese audience, and then we'll sell it overseas. But I don't like the idea. Plus, I'll put it this way. Melissa was making some comments. Basically, anime, in my opinion, is one of the few areas that hasn't gotten taken over by the woke brigade, and I'm terrified of having Americans, especially knowing some types of creators we have over here. They're going to try to start injecting the anime with SJW stuff. Now, it could just be anime intended for the American audience, and the Japanese won't give a hoot or won't even bother with it. But I don't know. And it's just, I can see a lot of problems arising because of this.
Well, okay. Possibly. And I'm seeing, Artificer Joni and some others making some reasonable comments. They want to get their foot in on anime and then, trash it. And I'm like, my thought on that is fine. Do it. Because all the people that love anime will go, okay, well, this isn't for me. And then they'll just go back to the Japanese anime that's going to be doing just fine and in no way hurt by this.
We'll see. It's just they're trying. They worm their way everywhere. They're trying to worm their way in here. They've already kind of done it with shows, like sometimes when they do an English dub, they'll change a line from the Japanese version.
Yeah.
I've even heard rumors that even subtitles are changing as well. And that, or I think there was even a light novel. Those are like the short novels they write over there, that there was an entire section taken out of one for the U.S. audience. And I as someone who does have interest in Japanese animation, as I have an interest in any foreign country that is hopefully producing good popular art and wants to sell it overseas, I'm kind of going to it in some ways to get away from the stuff over here, or to at least get exposed. I mean, to be fair, when I got into Japanese animation, things were still fine over here as well. We had great cartoons like Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series and Superman when I first got into anime. It was just something else on top of that. But now, as that stuff is going the ways, more and more people are now getting into anime. But I guess I'm just worried. And it's funny because I think about the British too. British do not like outsiders working on their stuff. Have you noticed this?
Oh yeah.
I think sorry, is it Stephen King's son? Is it Owen King?
I have no idea.
Okay, Stephen King's son. Apologize if I got his name wrong, but he tried auditioning. He sent a screenplay to Doctor Who. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to do a two-parter. He was really interested, big fan of Doctor Who, and they made a point that we usually don't hire people from Joe Hill. Okay, also
Mm-hmm.
okay, but anyway, and they basically told him, oh, his name is Owen King. Joe Hill's his pen name. Anyway, and Joe Hill, was very interested in writing this screenplay, and he says, well, we don't usually have outsiders work on our stuff, and even if we did, we certainly wouldn't pick you. Okay, and I thought that was a rather nasty thing to say. I mean, this guy is a successful novelist. I mean, Stephen King's his dad, but he's a good writer in his own right. And I don't think you could have at least heard him out, even if you didn't want to hire him. And whereas the Japanese, I think they're more open to having collaborators, but I almost worry the opposite could happen, where we could mess things up for them. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
And I, at the risk of overgeneralizing, I can only speak to the experience that I'm aware of. My uncle worked for a Japanese company for many, many years. And he said that, they just have this incredibly good work ethic that he says you could, as an outsider, get the impression that they favor Japanese over American workers. But when you really drill into it, what they're really valuing is the work ethic that they see from the Japanese workers that they don't see from the Americans. He said, so when I started working with them and they saw that same work ethic they saw, in their own people, he said, I never felt like I was treated any differently. He said, in this case, than the owner's own son, he had the same level of respect. He said that's what it really is about. So if that's true across Japanese culture, that it's that much merit based, that they'll look beyond things like race because this person really is the best for the job, I gotta say that's great. If they're looking for an infusion of talent, that's always a good thing too. And I honestly, when you talk about the whole translation thing, there's a problem there where I'm very much of two minds, because on the one hand, there's a market for a true a good faith translation, probably for an adult market. Okay, simply for people that just don't speak Japanese.
Right.
However, as somebody who grew up on, Battle of the Planets, that was, definitely a transmogrification of something from Japan. Yeah, that had to be edited for a juvenile American audience. You could not have some of that content in there. So was it SJW? No, it's really a cultural thing that they had to do. We have censorship here that is just accepted universally, that they had to accommodate. And I'm sure that somebody has done good actual translations of whatever the original source material was, for adults, but that would not be material for kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a copy of the Ghost in the Shell manga, and when it was originally released over here, they cut out a certain sexy scene that, might have gotten into trouble back in the 90s. They then republished it again, and I bought these where it's included, and then they took it out again when the Scarlett Johansson movie came out. So it kind of shows how we regressed again as far as this stuff. We were more freer in the 2000s when, as far as getting this content went, but I don't know. Horizon Talker has a terrifying statement. If things continue down the way they're going, Netflix will exercise the same kind of control over anime studios as China does over Hollywood. I don't know. I hope not. But yeah, that's the big fear. Like they'll say, you can't do this, you can't do that. I've already seen it in gaming. Capcom has as people over there from over here that are now telling them what they can and cannot, should not be putting in their games. I've heard rumors, at least, of stuff going around. There was like a presentation where someone was yelling about Princess Peach from the Super Mario Brothers game, saying that's not a good, portrayal of a woman. Don't ever do that in one of your games. They were saying this to Capcom. Nintendo's the one who has Princess Peach, but anyway.
Am I missing a reference? Trooper FN2525 says, "Mommy, I want to be a futa." Does this have something to do with the federal unemployment tax?
I don't know. It could be a reference to something from a Japanese anime, maybe.
That's what I figured. The only thing I know is payroll.
It's
So
probably something I should know, or maybe I do know and I've forgotten it at the moment. But Michael Arias, though, I did want to make a point though about merit. Though he is a man that actually, he paid his dues and worked his way up. And Tekken Concrete is a brilliant film, and now on just on a technical level because it's animated. It was the first time I saw, and it's hard for me to even describe this to you, but like a camera panning around in a 2D animated movie, but sort of in a 3D space. It's hard to explain. Like jumping on top of cars, like it was almost moving around like an actual movie would move, but everything was 2D animated. And you'd have to see it to maybe understand what I'm saying, because I'm maybe not being really articulate right now, but he did something I never saw in animation before, okay? Just in that movie. And it was, and he did a great job. And he had a long history. Apparently, he had worked on Back to the Future: The Ride. I don't know if he worked on some of the effects sequences for that. So he worked his way in Hollywood too, and eventually went over there. So, like I said, we're gonna keep an eye on this one, see how it goes. But yeah, we'll see. Speaking of, is that our next story? Speaking of China, we have Netflix has acquired a Chinese animated movie. Now, we were making a point a little while ago that this was that China's actually getting into animation now too. Not so much. I don't think they're trying to compete as much with the Japanese animation market as they're trying to compete with. It looks like Pixar, or like a lot of our 3D animated studios, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, before we get there, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Okay. Oh, I have some nasty comments of I was going to say, but never mind. I remember I watched a video once of this guy in Japan, and you hear me goes, "Yankee pig, F you." I'm like, he's not saying F, he's using the other one, right? And I was all saying, if they give you trouble, Americans give you trouble, they'll just say that. But anyway, okay. On that note, okay, Netflix to debut anime series based on Valve's popular Dota game. That's our next stop.
Yeah, Defense of the Ancients.
I had never heard of this game, but apparently this is a big PC game, right?
Apparently, yeah.
It's a Valve. This is the people that made.
I'm guessing it's something like a World of Warcraft type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I kept thinking that's the Half-Life people or the Portal people made those games, but I'm not as into PC gaming. But we'll read a bit on this. Again, it's using the phrase anime. Now, it's not to say that I think this show is going to be bad.
I think that's probably a misnomer. But then again, this is an area I am not an expert in. So
okay, but I'll read you a little bit from the article. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, Netflix, which struck gold with its adaptation of The Witcher a year ago, is looking for another crossover hit from the games industry. The announcement of an anime based on Valve Corp's Dota 2. Dota Dragon's Blood will premiere on March 25th and feature characters from the multiplayer title, such as the Dragon Knight, Davian, and Princess Mirana. The game, while free to play, is one of the biggest earners among PC titles, using some of the proceeds from the players to buy in-game cosmetics and upgrades to fund competitive play prizes in excess of 150 million to date. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what all that is. Okay.
Well, you would know better than I would when it comes to gaming.
This might be out of my wheelhouse as well, but you're the PC gamer. You're not on this every.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly understand the concept of MMOs and online gaming and stuff like that. Although I do focus on Star Trek Online, but I do get the idea of things like World of Warcraft or whatever. And the idea is that this is apparently an online game that has its own lore and stories and characters that absolutely could be developed into some sort of a show.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's being co-written by Ashley Edward Miller, who co-wrote the Thor movie from 2011. Yeah.
Horizon Talker is pointing out that it actually started out as a custom Warcraft map.
Oh, I see. And then
now I guess they went on to Dota 2, which I guess is its own spin-off type of thing.
Okay. This is regular Warcraft, I take it. Okay. Oh no, World of Warcraft. That's the online multiplayer game. Okay, the collaboration with Netflix marks a shift for Valve. It has traditionally been reluctant to relinquish control over its properties to others, and it's been working to consolidate the Dota 2 esports scene under its own management. But it's counting on the streaming video leader to create a show that will satisfy the game's demanding fans. Okay, well, I don't know. I think I commented at least it's on a mobile game. Okay, but apparently it may be good. Yes, I figured it was an anime reference, Trooper. Okay, but I don't know. I'm trying to think. It could be good. I watched the trailer for it. I think one thing that a lot of these types of shows are being called anime is that they have very limited frames of animation. That's how the Japanese operated for a while. They would have limited frames of animation to save on money. Okay. And now I think that's being adapted over
here. And what's even worse is it really says a great deal about the people on our side of the pond that are making these comments tend to be they tend to virtue signal openly, but privately are pretty racist. So they're basically going, well, it's Asian animation, therefore it's anime. Yeah, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there is. I mean, everyone has
in
their
fact, I would even go so far as to say there's a huge difference between China and Japan.
Yeah, that's like comparing England to Switzerland or something.
Right?
It's like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be good or bad. We'll see. As long as it's not preachy, I might give it a look. Okay, but again, it's not something I would necessarily consider anime, though. But this is a term that's getting thrown around. Something can still be a cartoon and good and not be anime. Okay, we used to do it all the time over here. Okay,
yeah,
some of my favorite cartoon series. I mean, I loved Eon Flux back in the day. Remember that one? But
and this is the second story of Netflix, branching out and investing in something. So that's kind of newsworthy.
And we got a third one. Netflix debut. No, that's the other one. Hold on. I'm having a boomer moment. Help me. Okay.
I did. I wrote the notes for you, but I'll read it for you if you want. Netflix lands.
Anyway, I'm doing good.
You already said that. This one. Oh, yeah.
Chinese animated one. Yes, that's what we're on next.
No. This is another Chinese animated New Gods, Nisa Reborn.
Yes, did you watch the trailer for it?
I did not.
Okay, I did. It looks kind of odd, actually, but doesn't look bad. I think it's been years in development as well. I'll read a bit from that article too.
Yeah.
But it looks like New Gods, Nisa Reborn, the latest movie from China's Light Chaser Animation Studios, will soon be available to stream on Netflix. So I think that this is going to be a big release in Japan, in China, I should say. Okay, It's an adaptation of the Chinese novel "The Investiture of the Gods." The film has earned $36.5 million in China since its debut during Lunar New Year weekend. Is that a lot?
I don't know, but I do know that when China is celebrating their New Year, they usually shut down for a very long period of time.
Okay. But yeah, it looks like
annually.
Oh, okay. Took 4 years to make. Yeah, that's where everyone in the factories can go visit the home country. That's what I heard. Okay.
Yeah. I know that a lot of people in the toy market, are saying, well, yeah, it's going to be a while before, this line comes out because we have to wait for China to come back from their holiday. And that could be a couple weeks.
Right. I was waiting for my PC Engine Mini to come from Japan. And I think it was being manufactured in China. And that was what was holding it up. Okay. Cats and Peachtopia. They made a movie called Cats and Peachtopia. Why can't we get that movie?
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know what it is either, but come on, Peachtopia.
But it sounds interesting to you, right?
Pets was made before. Is Cats and Peachtopia a sequel to T-Pets? I don't know. It looked like it was quality animation, okay. But anyway, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be worth looking at, maybe not. Another thing that I feel upset, especially since more recent times, is with China getting more control over Hong Kong in the movie industry. Hong Kong was starting to put out these wonderfully operatic movies, okay, that I would love to see on the big screen, like House of Flying Daggers, Curse of the Golden Flower, stuff like that. And I don't know that they're producing that stuff in the detail, because I think they're trying too much to be like Hollywood right now and failing at it instead of just doing what they were good at doing. But anyway, let's see. In addition to acquiring animated products from other companies like New Gods, Neza Reborn, Netflix has recently increased its efforts to develop original films and series at its in-house animation studio. Okay, well, we were kind of just talking about that. Netflix Animation's upcoming slate includes a new Sonic the Hedgehog show titled Sonic Prime, along with an anime prequel series to Zack Snyder's upcoming zombie action horror movie, Army of the Dead. The company is also working on anime shows inspired by 2018's Tomb Raider movie and 2017's Kong Skull Island. I read another article that it's actually based more on the games than the movie, the more recent games.
Yeah.
Which means we won't get the old Lara Croft. Did I ever tell you, do you remember the old Witchblade comics back in the day?
Oh, sure, yeah.
They also made Tomb Raider comics back in the day, and I wish that they had gotten that same company, Top Cow, had gotten them to make a Tomb Raider anime, because they did a Witchblade anime. Okay, and, now as you know, the Witchblade character in comics would often get criticized, right, for being rather well endowed, right? Okay, if you know what I mean,
right.
Big breasts, right? And the Japanese studio got the rights to Witchblade, right? And they said, okay, hold our beer. And their Witchblade had even bigger breasts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, never mind. Okay. It was a different Witchblade anyway. It took place a couple hundred years in the future. It was, anyway, never mind.
I didn't know that much about the lore, so I was lost.
Okay. Well, I don't know much about the lore either, but anyway, I'm just pointing out, I wish
But I know more than you is what you're saying, right?
My point is that I wish they had also done an anime Tomb Raider, because it would have kicked butt. And now we're going to get one based on the new Tomb Raider games that I don't like as much. And where, I don't know, I miss the old Lara Croft. That's a whole nother thing for me to cry about. People cry about different things getting ruined. For me, Lara Croft getting, because in fact, a couple of years ago, they re-released all the old Lara Croft comic books, and I bought all of them up in these nice hardback volumes, okay, because I wanted to read maybe I'll get around to reading them someday. But, you know, she's a hot character, but she's also a badass too, so anyway, okay, never mind. Okay. I miss old female game heroines from the 90s. Okay.
Oh, like the one that was apparently left out of the Mortal Kombat movie that we're coming to. This is just cringe. Okay. I laughed so hard. So
now, even you who doesn't play video games, you know enough. Okay,
but these are games that I do kind of know, because I did play Mortal Kombat in the day, and I played Street Fighter, and I played a lot of those games back then.
Games. They're like the big arcade.
Yeah, and Jezebel, the feminist website, gets skewered for asking where Chun Li is in Mortal Kombat. Let me read to you from the Jezebel article, entitled "Who Forgot to Invite Chun Li to Mortal Kombat?" Cinema is back, baby, and in a big way. Forget the auteur films and of award season where two people stand at the edge of a cliff somewhere in Great Britain, pining over each other, but never finding a way to make their relationship work. There is a new Mortal Kombat hitting HBO Max, and life is still effing good. And okay, blah, 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 blah. Here's where it gets good. But being the astute film critic that I am, I being Shannon Mellerow of Jezebel, she's an astute film critic, I immediately clocked a glaring error in the film. Where in all the realms is Chun Li? If there is a battle for the fate of Earth, that then don't we need all the greatest warriors gathered, which would include Chun Li and her spinning bird kick that can knock a man's head clean off? Sounds like a pretty big plot hole to me, that the ultimate street fight is supposed to be won by a raging team helmed by Sonya Blade. No offense to the Sonya stands. I'm sure that it's meant to be fans. I guess editing is not a thing on the Jezebel.
No, Sonya stands are the Sonya Blade fan base. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah. But anybody who knows anything about Mortal Kombat goes, Chun Li, that's Street Fighter. She even said something about Street Fight. So it's like she almost figured it out for herself, dumbass. But I mean, complaining about Chun Li not being in a Mortal Kombat movie is kind of like complaining about Uhura not being in Star Wars.
Yeah, basically. Or like when Katie Couric said, "It's Donald Duck's birthday." Well, that's all, folks. You know, remember she said that horrible gap, and it's just God. it's no. And here's the thing. Part of me almost wonders if the author did it on purpose to get attention, or if she really is just not that in the know. And if either explanation works.
If that's the case, that is not the kind of notoriety you want. She just demonstrated that she's a dumbass, that the Jezebel is a joke. I mean, we all knew this, but come on, you don't have to give us this ammunition.
Okay, I had some comments written for you. Stop mansplaining. Okay, I'll start a change.org petition to get Chun Li in the new Mortal Kombat movie. By the way, I saw the trailer. It doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it looks like classic Mortal Kombat. I remember the old movie. Remember the old movie from the
I do. I do. It wasn't perfect, but I still liked it.
I still liked it. It's like a B movie version of Enter the Dragon, which was still kind of a B movie. But and then you had the awful sequel, which one of my friends, we were in the theater, and he almost walked out, and he realized, oh, we're an hour away from my house, so I got to sit here. You know? But yeah, that was because we had to go into the big city to see Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But no, this one looks like a return to form. Scorpion looks, Sub-Zero looks terrifying in it. You know, they show him freeze Jax's arms right off. I guess they're giving the origin of the cybernetic arms. That's how he gets the cyborg arms.
And everybody is saying that the cybernetic arms on Jax look so much better than Cyborg in Justice League. Everybody's making that comparison.
Yeah, I want to make a point. I believe this is another Warner Brothers property, right? Mm-hmm. I hope this is a good movie. I hope that Warner Brothers says, hey, let's make stuff that's good that people want to watch. You know? That'd be a nice, because I think this actually looks very promising. This could be maybe something the studio heads, they don't know games. They just left it alone, and someone who knows what they're doing just took it over. And it might be a fun, entertaining, basically video game, a kind of comic book movie. In fact, they've done the only crossover I've ever known Mortal Kombat to do was with the DC superheroes in one of the games.
Yeah.
Which was kind of neat because you could see Batman fighting Scorpion or something, and it kind of fits.
Yeah.
In fact, they were purposely picking DC characters for the game that they felt fit in the Mortal Kombat universe. So they picked Deathstroke was in there as a playable character because he's sort of like a Mortal Kombat-esque style character, and
sure.
other people like that. But I don't know. Yes,
I just dropped this into the notes as a joke because plenty of other YouTubers have covered this. It kind of speaks for itself. It's hysterical. You're not doing your political, point of view any favors. Okay. And there are women gamers and women geeks all over that are just cringing, going, don't help us.
Yeah. Ronda Rousey is a big Mortal Kombat fan. She actually did the voice of Sonya Blade in one of the more recent games. What I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah, and there are plenty of female gamers out there. And it's just they know the difference between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and I was more of a Street Fighter guy, but Mortal Kombat I like because they got goofier later on, and I kind of appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think after reading this, I'm thinking, why should we even bother with this Mortal Kombat movie if they left her out? I mean, they probably left out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. So forget it.
You joke. I think they do show up in one of the Mortal Kombat games as a downloadable content you can buy.
Sure, turtles, but they're not going to show up in the movie. I mean,
they did in the Batman cartoon.
Although what would be funny is you said this was Warner Brothers, right? At the very end, I would love to see Flash, pop in and say, it's all about Lois.
Don't joke. Oh man. I can see them tying this to the Snyderverse. Okay, like this is another Earth.
Yeah.
Except because well, think of Outworld's another dimension too, right? Where the bad guys come from in the Mortal Kombat game. And it's just, oh man, no. It's about Lois.
And Jack says, Martha.
No, I told you I probably made this stupid joke before on the stream. They had the Batman versus Ninja Turtles, and I wanted Leonardo to be tied up by Batman, and he goes, April, and then Batman says, I don't know who that is, and then kills him.
It was worth a try. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So anyway, we have one more article left. Well, ties into two, but you want to wrap up the Star Wars one? Think we got enough time?
Sure.
Got 10
Star
minutes.
Wars Hunter announced for Nintendo Switch from Zynga.
Yes, Zynga. Okay, as part of the February Nintendo Direct, Zynga announced and showcased a brief video for Star Wars Hunters, a new Star Wars game for the primarily mobile-focused developer. Zynga says this is a squad-based game, online arena multiplayer game as far as the gameplay goes. However, plot details are largely under wraps. Zynga did reveal that the Star Wars Hunters will be set between the events of Episode 6 and Episode 7, so it's basically set in the time period of The Mandalorian, okay?
Yeah.
And
which is where they're obviously going to focus.
Yeah, and did they say that this was a free-to-play game, I believe?
Probably.
Can you download it for free?
But there's probably, microtransactions, which gets us to our last article, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, but we'll get there soon enough. But they're farming out to Zynga. There was a big disaster years ago when they gave Electronic Arts, we'll get into that, the exclusive license to Star Wars. I think Rich Evans from Red Letter Media said he cried because people forget, and guys like me, one of the things that kept me sort of interested in Star Wars over the years wasn't so much even the movies, but the fact that they were making games. And LucasArts Game Studio was a good game studio.
Yeah.
Like, even if every game didn't
I
hit the
loved
mark,
X-Wing and TIE Fighter and all of those.
Those are huge, the top series. And my point, Dark Forces, the point is that even though they may not have always hit the mark, they tried. Yeah. Okay. They were trying to make good games each time.
You mentioned Dark Forces. It's funny you say that because, the Favreau guys won't let that die. They're keeping that canon. Well, as much as they can.
Interesting.
The reintroduction of the Dark Troopers and all of that. They're trying to, preserve as much of that as they can.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they're able to preserve going forward because,
it could be a moot point.
The 2 to 3 factions over at Disney. Some argue Iger is a third faction, but I don't know. Anyway, as far as Lucas,
that's actually an interesting element, dimension to it that I had not considered previously. That would explain a lot of things.
At some point, all of this is going to come out in the wash. I don't know how long it's going to take. I know there are factions over there, but anyway.
Well, we've gotten a great deal of peek behind the curtain because of Gina.
Oh, yeah. And I know that the Kathleen Kennedy is one faction. Okay. And that's probably the faction that got her terminated. I don't know. I have to say, though, it feels like now, to be fair, they've changed the name of the company back to Lucasfilm Games. I don't have a problem with that because it was originally called Lucasfilm Games. I'm fine with either. Of course, they're going back and forth now. But I have to give George Lucas points. He understood that video games and computer games were important.
Yeah.
He set up his own studio, hired the best, and they made some great games over the years with the Star Wars license. Because, well, not really licensed because he owned it. Okay. Those were put out. I mean, I love the Rogue Squadron games, which were a lot like the X-Wing games, but they were focused more on land-based battles as opposed to being in space. And in fact, I remember one game they made for the N64 called Battle for Naboo, where it starts out, it's based on episode 1, and you see Jar Jar Binks walk across the screen, and a Nintendo 64 sign falls out of the sky and squashes them. And I could swear he yells out "bastard." Okay. It's kind of an homage that people were not liking Jar Jar so much at that point. But it was a neat game based in even episode 1. It was a good game. But now, though, I know that Lucasfilm fell under harder times, I think, after the housing bubble burst. And because we were supposed to get a Rogue Squadron trilogy for the Wii that I think even got finished and never got released. They were working on some, I think it was going to be an M-rated Star Wars title for the next-gen consoles, which never got completed, even though, and it was about like smugglers, right? Okay. Yeah. That never got finished. And then eventually Disney buys out Lucasfilm, and they basically get rid of what's left of LucasArts. And part of me screams because it's like you realize that Lucasfilm was more than just Indiana Jones and Star Wars. There was a ton of original IPs in there.
Yeah.
Like especially with those games like Loom, The Dig. I mean, they made a lot of PC games. They Maniac Mansion. I mean, they had a lot of original properties over the years. I think Zombies Ate My Neighbors was another one, and I don't know if I could see. Well, I could see Disney doing a Zombies Ate My Neighbors movie, but anyway, I couldn't. Never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. Anyway, but my point is, though, I feel I started getting depressed because I'm like, Lucas, you not only sold your baby Star Wars and all this, but in some ways you sold your name.
Yeah.
Because your name is now associated with all this negativity, and I realized.
Well,
and
I mean, I would argue, you know, Walt Disney's name is being dragged through the mud right now by Disney.
Well, yeah. So I mean, guess.
Yeah, you know,
as I said, they paid Tim Burton to make a movie where Walt Disney was the villain. Anyway, though, but here we go, though. But our next article, though, microtransactions in the future in gaming. This is an older article, but it goes into the big controversy. You know, years ago when we had The Last Jedi was causing a ruckus, there was another ruckus going on.
Yeah,
with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Did you hear about this at the time?
Not at the time, no.
This was all about the loot crate system. You like, let's say you want to get Luke Skywalker. Well, the old days, you would either unlock the character or they might sell it as DLC. Okay, well, that's, you should just make the character available, period. But, you could, in the old days, you might unlock it or you'd have to buy it as DLC. But now it's more like you pay for the chance to win the character. That's the long and the short of it. And I apologize if I'm getting the details on this.
No, you're absolutely right. It's something that anyone that's doing online gaming struggles with all the time. You get these stupid drops of loot crates that you can't do anything with unless you spend actual money to open them. Actually, I don't know if all games work this way, but I know that Star Trek Online, there is in-game currency that you can obtain that allows you some opportunities to open these crates. But yeah, sometimes it's a bunch of crap. Sometimes it's, something mildly useful, and it's a rare drop to get the thing that you're actually after.
This reminds me of when you were a kid and you were looking at all the prizes in the quarter machine.
Yep,
and you're trying
you
to
keep dropping quarters in until you got the thing that you want. Yeah,
I was collecting these little plastic tools and I wanted the hammer and I couldn't get the hammer, and it made me so angry after a while. I just quit. And I had all these other tools I didn't need, but I wanted the hammer to complete the set.
A lot of people are also comparing it to those machines that you see in arcades where you drop the quarter in and the quarter lands and there's this thing that's pushing the quarters forward so that the quarters and prizes fall down. But because of the nature of physics, the quarters, space is pushed out and then the quarters fall off the sides too. And you got to drop hundreds and hundreds of quarters to get anything to come forward. And it's, it's gambling. The house always wins. You're going to lose money on this, no matter how you do it.
Yeah. And in this article about the future gaming, what company do they mention as one of the people that that are very into this microtransaction, maybe even this controversy over gambling? Zynga. Who does Disney license out Star Wars to now?
Yeah.
Zynga.
I hate Zynga. I really, really do.
And I think the country of Belgium, they were looking into this. I don't know what we were doing as far as the Star Wars Battlefront 2 thing went. I think there were some, I don't know the history. I think there was some involvement, but not on a huge scale, like government wanting to look into this. You got to stop doing this. Eventually they removed the loot box system in Battlefront 2, and they said it messed up the game because it was designed around it.
Yeah.
Just an utter disaster. And I think EA made better games after that, but now they said, okay, well, forget you, EA. We're going to license out to Ubisoft to make a game. We're going to give it to another company to make a game. And, we're just going to throw out the license. They used to just make things in-house, which I thought was better, especially because I don't think George Lucas ever did anything this horrendous, would never have done anything this horrendous with his property, trying to. And the thing is, though, kids are playing these games and they say, Mom, can I borrow the credit card for a second? Then there's a $5,000 charge next month,
Yeah. Yeah. Auditor Dread points out they put a spin on it, but the fact is it is what it is. It's gambling. You throw money at a chance to get the thing that you want. You're not given an actual opportunity to pay for it, and just buy it.
Now we'll see how bad it will be in this Zynga produced game. It's not out yet. I'd like to think Nintendo wouldn't allow something like this on their platform. I mean, maybe you can buy like a new costume or something, or but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if it's like that, like I said in Star Trek Online, there's really nothing in those loot crates that is so important that you absolutely have to have it.
So it doesn't impede your playing the game.
Oh, absolutely not. You can play for free forever and not have anything missing that you absolutely need. But if you absolutely want to have the sarcophagus ship from Star Trek Discovery, well, then you're gonna have to.
Can I shoot dead Klingon corpses at people?
Actually, the use of them on your ship protects. It's used as like a form of armor.
I see. And, I get it. I get it.
And it functions as a destroyer, or not a destroyer, as a carrier, because you can send out birds of prey.
Right.
It's whatever. But
yeah.
as much as I joke, though, I actually do have that ship because I did get lucky on a loot crate that I didn't. Whatever.
Well, good for you. But Belgium outlawed loot boxes. Good for them. And we'll see what happens with this game. I'm going to keep an eye on it. But again, Disney, did you not learn your lesson? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm getting a little nervous because it's Zynga. Yeah. Okay, so. But then I think that about wraps it up. Do you have anything else to say, Troy?
No, I don't. We're starting to run long, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the link real quick for Mr. Matchsticks. He's just started his Goblin Slayer Weeb Watch. If you want to jump over there, you absolutely can.
You should. Goblin Slayer is funny because how like the whole thing about how orcs aren't evil.
Yeah.
Goblin Slayer is basically orcs are evil and very dangerous, and my main job is to kill them. And it's basically a refute of that. All that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, yes.
In other words, what goblins are supposed to be. That's absolutely right. That makes perfect sense. Also, I just want to send out this Friday for those of you that enjoyed my stream from a couple weeks back. We did fixing the Universal Monsters universe. You guys suggested that I do a rewatch of Dracula Untold. Not necessarily the best movie, but we're gonna kind of pick it apart a little bit and imagine how it could be fixed, or it could be used as raw material for something much better.
Cool, neat, definitely. When will that be?
That'll be Friday. This Friday at 9 Central, so 10 your time.
Well, I'll see if you're looking for people, I might be able to sign up for it. Unless you're full up, you got full up last time. You got a lot of people wanting to come.
I did. There were so many people that wanted to come in and chat.
Oh man, Artificial Johnny, Finland. It was fascinating.
That was awesome. It was great to talk to him.
Listeners all over the world.
It was like virtually meeting him for the first time, even though he's been in the chats talking with us all the time.
Okay, great
insights.
But I think we had a good show tonight. And we'll be back next week. Okay.
Yep. That's all I got.
Okay. And
appreciate everyone who stuck with us this long. Make sure you hit I didn't even hit the thumbs up.
Hit the thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And check out my Rumble channel, which I need to start putting in the link of every video I do.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's on the main page, though. I think you can get to it from there. Okay. Have a good night, y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.